So, hello, thank you for coming to this tool in action. I am Christophe Jollivet, and I work as a technical leader at a company called Appsid, which is a French IT consulting company. And I will be speaking about modern JavaScript debugging. And as this is a tool in action, this is my last slide. So I have written a small website for my demonstration. I think that maybe it should just, like this. You can find it on my GitHub. Be careful to be on the right branch, which is Devoxx BE, because there are other branches for the other format of this presentation. To start debugging JavaScript, I will start with an hello world. So I've written a simple hello world with an input. And if I write Devoxx inside the input and click the button, nothing happened. So I've got a bug. What you can do is to open the developer tools, which can be found in the menu. And then at the bottom of the page, you will have some tools. Just make it bigger, like this. So as you can see, I've got the file for my page. So a simple HTML file where we can find my input, which is with an ID input name and my button, and a span, which is called span hello. For my script, when my page is ready, I will add a listener for the click event on the button, which will get the value of the input, concatenate hello, and put it inside of the span. And it is not working. So maybe if you started like me many years ago, what you will do is go back to your code editor and add some alert inside of your script. So you don't need to go back to the script, to your code editor. You can just edit the script inside of your browser. So we can try to check if we get the right value from the selector, like this. You need to save. When you save, the background color of the file will change to show you that you changed something in the code, and you just need to try your code again. So here I've got Devoxx, which is the right thing. So maybe this is the selector for the span, which is wrong. So we'll just try to check it like we did many years ago. And check it, and there is a problem because we only know that we've got an object. So browsers have made many progress. So now you've got something which is console. You can do console.log. And what will happen is that you will write in the console what you want. Here we can see that we've got a span, which is span hello. So I think that my selector is good. The real problem with my hello world is there. It isn't val, it is text. And it's working. What I want to show you is that even if you can debug your JavaScript, JavaScript is like the other language. You need to read the documentation, and please write some text, some test, in order not to have too many debugs. One more thing which is interesting is that there I've got local modifications. So I've tried many things on my file, and there I can find some diff for the changes that I made. So I can go back to an older version, just click apply the revision, and it will change in my file. So what I do when I want to debug some program, generally, first thing is go to my log. Try to understand what was happening. If I don't understand what was happening, I will add some breakpoint in order to go step by step. And after that, maybe I will need to try something in order to see what is happening. So first we'll go to the console log and try to generate some logs. I already show you the simple log, console.log. You can do some string interpolation inside of your message, so using %. And you can do interpolation for string. You can do interpolation for integer. You can do or float. You can do interpolation for objects, and you can even do interpolation for DOM parts. Moreover, if you go to your log with your object, you are able to see the content of the object, like this. And if you log for some DOM elements, you are able to open it also to see the children. But if you go over the different child, it will be highlighted in the page. You can do some different level on your logs. You can do some info log, but you can do also warning or error logs. They will raise some flag at the bottom of your page, and if you do some console.error, you will have a stack trace, and this stack trace is linked to your code. Next, you can, not this one, next one, you can group your log. You can try to structure it. Depending on your part, you just have to do console.group, and at the end, you do console.group end. And with this, you will have some indentation on your logs, and you are able to fold them if you want. You can do some timing if you want to know how many times it takes to go through a function. So you just have to do console.time with a label and console.timeEnd with the same label. And it even works if you are using some asynchronous code. You can use some counter if you want to know how many times you go through a method. So you just do console.count with a label, and it will append the number of times you go through the method. If you need a stack trace, you can do just console.trace. It will give you a stack trace, but it will not raise the little flags at the bottom of the browser. Next is, if you've got many objects that you want to compare, here I've got an array containing 2 people, and I want to see if what are the difference between the people, the names, the age, etc. I just need to do console.table, and the table will be created with the name of the property and the value. You can see we don't go inside of the object. If there are too many properties for you to read, you can use a filtered table with a second argument, which is an array of the properties that you want to see, and there you will be able to compare the object in your array. So I've got some logs to try to know what was happening in my application, but I need to go step by step. So I will need some breakpoints in my application. There are 6 types of breakpoints that you can use. So here I've got a button, call Ajax, which will call a backend and just append the 2 elements that were returned in the page. If you go to the source, you can just add a breakpoint. I think I will add it here, yes, and just call. And as you can see, my code just stopped on the breakpoint. You've got your, here you've got the local variables for your code, and you can see the closure with the values that were present in the closure. You have the stack trace for your code. As you can see, there are some code that is black box, meaning that you can choose to hide some part of your framework. So I've said you black box jQuery, so it isn't shown in the stack trace. But if I want, I can just click on it to show them. And I can add some watch. For example, there I will add a watch on person.name, like this. Sometimes it may be useful to know from where you are coming, because you know in JavaScript there are many asynchronous things. So what you can do is just check the box here for async. And if you call, here you can see that I've got an XML HTTP request, and it is showing me from where the request was sent. Next, type of breakpoint that you can use is the conditional breakpoint. You just have to right-click on your breakpoint, say edit, and I want just to break when my person.name equal Paul. So this time I've got a conditional breakpoint, and I will just hit this breakpoint only if person.name equal Paul. The third type of breakpoints that you can use are the breakpoints on XML HTTP request. So there you can add a breakpoint. I say I want a breakpoint when the URL will contain just a part of the URL, which is pairs. And when I click my button, I will hit the breakpoint. So I am inside of the script that is black box, but I can go back to my code, and I can see from where my query was started. Next type of breakpoint are the breakpoint on events. There, when I go over my list, as you can see, I've got a log which is appended for over. I want to know when this event is listening. So just there in the event listener breakpoint, I will add a breakpoint for mouse. And when I go over, I will be inside of the listener for this event. Another type of breakpoint that you can use is for DOM modification. I want to know what is the part of the script that changed my list in my page. So just say that you want to proceed to inspection of the element. It will bring you to the DOM. And there you right-click and you can say break on, and you've got the choice. I will choose subtree modifications. And next time I click on the button, there is a breakpoint. So I am inside of jQuery, and I can go to my function there. And as you can see, I do a list.append from a part of the DOM. And the last type of breakpoint that you can use is a programmatic breakpoint, meaning that you just have to add an instruction in your code, like this, debugger. And it will stop on this breakpoint only if you have the developer tools open. This one is quite useful because sometimes you have many scripts, and you know your scripts are concatenated, and you don't know where to find the place to put your breakpoint in the many thousands of lines of JavaScript. You just add it in your code editor, and it will stop in your browser. So this one, we will reuse it later. So now I've got some breakpoints. There is another part which is quite difficult in JavaScript. This is asynchronous, because sometimes it is working on my computer and it isn't working on the client side because there is some latency in the network between the client and my server. So here I've got an example, which is a first script that when it is loaded inside of the page, it will go to the backend for an information, and it will append it in the page on a span. And I've got another script which will wait 100 milliseconds before trying to read this value and write it in the console, like this. What you can do to try network latency is go on the network tab, and using the throttling, you have some configuration already done for you, or you can add your own configuration. So just like this, I will go back. And if I go back to my page, now, as there is a latency, I've got 200 milliseconds of latency, so the reply from my server is not arrived when I'm trying to read the value, so it is failing. So this one is quite useful to try to see what is happening on the client side with network latency. You can also choose to use the mobile device simulator. There are many devices already configured for you. and it will change the agent of the navigator in order to get the real data from your backend. So just remove the throttling and get back. So I've written my log. I have done some breakpoint, going step by step, and didn't find my bug. So last thing I can do is trying some things with my code, which is quite easy with JavaScript because we've got a dynamic language. So here I've got a button called Ajax, which will just append an array of 2 people in my console. So I will add a breakpoint just before writing to my console and call the method. And there you can go in the console, and you've got access to the context of your code. I can see my data object. If you know, maybe in JavaScript, you don't have to put every argument. So there is something called arguments in every method that allow you to see all the arguments that were passed to the function. So here we can see that we've got data, which was the array, but we've got also success and another object, which is a configuration of the query. And what you can do is just change the data, meaning that you don't have to change your code in your backend and start again your backend in order to see if it was just a problem with your data. You just have to try it here. So I will take, I've got 2 people, I think that is John and Paul. Okay, so I will take the first people, like this, and I will change the name, like this. And I will just add another object inside of my array, like this, with name, Felix, like this. And I will let my code go on. And then, as you can see, in my log, I've got 3 objects. The first one is now named Christophe, and the last one is Felix. So as you can see, we can change our code on the fly during the execution, change our variables. I've got another button there, which is log hello. So this is just logging. This is just calling a function. So I've got here a person object with a function say hello that is you writing in the console, hello, my name is plus this one name. Don't do this. This is a global object. This is bad in JavaScript. This is only for the demonstration. What I want to know is when does someone access to the name property? Can try to put a breakpoint on it, but it doesn't work. Nothing happened. So we need to find a way to add a breakpoint on this object. What you can do is change the code on the fly. I've got some code here. So this code is a snippet that was found on Paul Irish GitHub. And there are other snippets that are available on this GitHub repository. What it does is create a function that will allow you to take a property of an object and define getter and setter for this property. If you want, you can, as you won't put a show code button in every application you do, you can just store them inside of your browser. So I've got here some snippet. So I've got snippet to add jQuery inside of pages. I've got the debug access. I've got another one which allows me to save my object as a JSON. So it will serialize my JSON and send me a file. And this one is more evolved of the debug access. It will add also logs. This one allows me to get a table with every element inside of the forms of the page. Just choose my debug access. I will do run on it. So this one is executed. Just hide the console at the bottom. This one is bigger. So now I've got a debug access function. I will say I want to debug access on person for the property name. And I want to debug the getter access also, just like this. And next, when I click on the log hello, I will hit the breakpoint that is inside of my getter. And I can use my call stack to go back to where my property was accessed. Like this. And it will also work for the setter. So if I try to do some person.name equal Paul, like this, I will hit the breakpoint on the setter. There, the calling function is an anonymous function which is created by Chrome when I am using the command line. So with this, you will be able to try many things in order to debug your JavaScript. So you can debug JavaScript in your front end, but what about the back end? What I used is a Node application to serve my page. So what you can do is just start Node in debug mode. And there, it will stop on the first line. And you need to put some CLI instruction in order to continue or to set breakpoint on line. And it will show you some line. It's not usable. So we just let it continue. So my application is still working. Yes. And in another tab, I will just launch a tool which is Node Inspector, which was installed using NPM. And it tells me to go to this page, just like this. And there, I will get the debugger part of Chrome, but for my backend, meaning that I don't have the breakpoint on DOM event or DOM events or DOM modification or XML HTTP request. This is the code from my application, and this is a method that was called in the asynchronous example. So if we go there, asynchronous. So we hit the breakpoint that was set in the code. We've got the call stack. We can add some watch. We've got scope variables. And we can just edit our code just live like this. And oops, source going on. And as you can see, it works. So with all these tools, you will be able to debug your JavaScript application with the same level of comfort that you had with your Java application. I think that it is quite better because of the dynamic aspect of the language. So everything that I've shown you work in Chrome, because I did it in Chrome. Much of it will work in other browsers, meaning that, if I remember, Firefox doesn't support the second argument on the console.table to filter the columns that you want. If you are using Internet Explorer 8, nothing will work, even the console.log, because it will just fail. You need to have the developer tools open in order for console.log to work. So don't try to console.log if you are using Internet Explorer 8, or you will need to do something like windows.console.log. I think that's all. So do you have some question? Maybe I can try with the application. No? No question? got 5 minutes for the question. No. Just checking on the application if there are some questions. How to debug TypeScript. There was another one that was coming. So for TypeScript, there are some experimental parts that are coming for debugging. And they just made the map file in order to match your TypeScript with your JavaScript. Can I do the same with Safari? Yes, you can do the same with Safari. Maybe I can just try to open it in Safari, like this. If I go, this one was asynchronous. Oh, my breakpoint. So just there, there, there. And in Safari, if we try, you've got the, can't remember what they are. Can't remember where are the developer tools.
You have to activate it in preferences, if I remember.
Preferences, thank you. I won't find it right now. So, but most of it will work in. At the bottom, yes, thank you. So no developments. Yes, and there is some console, so I can try some string interpolation, which is working. And tables, but we can't see the bottom of the table. Yes, table is working, and the filtered table again. Yes, filtered table is working also. So most of them are working, maybe some groups. Yes, you've got the groups, you can fold them, you've got the level. So most of them are working. And for the breakpoint, good question, breakpoint, debugger, breakpoint. You've got conditional breakpoint. I don't know if you've got all the breakpoint for the DOM modification or things like this. Is there another question? Maybe. No. No question in the room? So thank you.